What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode, what is this, 156 of Value Town? I'm ChanManV, and today we've got like a whole set of, or at least two new folks joining the show. Gaara, of course, is with me. What's up, Gaara?
Yo, what's up? What's
up? Yeah, exactly, right? How you been?
Doing great. Climbing a lot. Like the closer you get to the last day of the month, the more stressful it gets.
We still got a week. It's already getting stressful.
That's not enough time.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So it's Ant's fault, because whenever I see he started with like 250 hours left or something. Yeah. And it sounds like so little, and then like 200 hours left, and like damn, it's like
he's got the countdown. I know, that's the stress countdown right there. No, but Ant, our good friend Ant's back on the show. What's up, buddy?
Not much. How are you doing?
Good. I feel like it's been. Did we have you on? We had you on before Worlds, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
It's been quite a while.
Yeah, it hasn't been that long. It's only been
a
like
good bit, I guess.
Or two. Yeah, it's always great to have you on. We're going to be talking about Dude Paladin today, so it's going to be a good time. And since we're talking about Dude Paladin, I figured it was a great opportunity to have Zhandaly here or Dan on the show. Who's those of you who might not know him, given he's not a big streamer or anything like that. He's the head mod on the competitive Hearthstone subreddit. Yes, we actually have other aspects of the community, guys. That's not streamers and and pro players. So it would be great. Dan wrote like this pretty cool post or thread, maybe like about a week ago now, and convinced a few other pros to play this abusive Paladin deck that is just totally all over the meta at this point. So it'd be great to have him on. What's up, Dan?
Hey, glad to be on the show, and welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem, man. I still remember when we ran into each other on the airplane that one time. And
I was like, I think you're sleeping behind me.
I was like, who is this? I was like, oh, wow, yeah. No, I still remember that. It's so funny. But yeah, so we were going to be talking about the Dude Paladin. Of course, going to do more of a deck spotlight today, a little bit different, where we're just going to dig into it, look at it from every angle we can, maybe take a look at some stats too. Topic of the week, we've got an Evergreen topic that I know Gaara wanted to talk a little bit about, and just kind of like pros and cons of it, what we think of it, and what we think of our version of it right now. And then we've got Mekkatorque's workshop coming back. We had a couple cards from a couple of the community members from Value Town, as well as HS Replay. And then we got Q&A, just one or two questions from just all the folks out there. And if you do have a question, go ahead and tweet that to @ValueTownGG, or go ahead and email that to valuetown@chanmanv.tv, and we will try to read it out. Let's start out with our week in Hearthstone, what we've been doing this week. And I don't know if there's any tournaments going on. Gaara, what have you been up to?
Later. They announced the Wild qualifier, which is happening very soon. Isn't it like tomorrow as well?
Yeah, I think it's tomorrow.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that soon. Okay.
And that spawned already the first outrage, the public or community outrage, because a lot of people I saw a lot of known players climb to Legend in Wild. A lot of people are doing it, like Firebird, Zhandaly, a lot of others. And today they just announced the Copa America qualifier for next month, and it's happening. It's kind of interferes. The dates interfere of the qualifiers. I think one of the days ends
same day. Oh god,
that really pissed people off.
They're both tomorrow, is the thing.
Mike. Okay, so just to clarify, the Copa is one of the HCT stops for folks that didn't know that. So
standard.
Yeah, for standard. So people are trying to get their points, and these tour stops that what we were referring to in past episodes. And then now we have this wild qualifier, which is, maybe the only wild tournament we'll have this year. Who knows, right? We only had one last year, hoping not, but could be the only one. And it's for a decent amount of money, so a lot of people want to participate in it. So what you're basically saying is not everybody is going to be able to do both.
What is extremely interesting about that is... No, I'll get to that.
Yeah.
It's what is interesting is that this month there was no qualifier at all, the entire month. So people had nothing to do. And I think the World qualifier they announced 2 weeks ago or something, very far ahead, right? Mm-hmm. And people expected there won't be a standard qualifier this month. So people actually just, started preparing for the Wild qualifier because there was nothing to do, right? So they're like, okay, let's invest time, let's learn the new Wild decks, because most of the standard players don't play Wild at all. So you have to invest a lot of time learning the decks, craft the cards. It's very expensive. Like, who has all the wild cards? And now, like the standard, but we prioritize the standard qualifiers. So now they suddenly announced a standard qualifier for tomorrow. So basically, all the people that invested into wild, they have to like choose, and the standard players all have to choose for the standard qualifier.
Yeah.
So like, it's a banner. You can't play both.
Yeah, I mean,
So
the
you
matches are
have
going
to
on at the
decide.
same time. So literally you can, I mean, there probably is a good chance there's overlap. I mean, you'd be crazy lucky to not have it perfect.
The only thing is like the one tomorrow is the global qualifier. So like if you're in EU, you can't play the Wild tournament. I think as long as I'm not sure if they conflict or not. I'm not sure if the EU and Wild open at the same time. But like NA, there's still 2 more qualifiers. So like maybe you can go do the Wild and then play the other qualifiers. But
why did they not announce it at the same time, right? That's super weird.
Yeah, it was definitely really awkward.
They're definitely not, like I think these HCT stops, these event organizers, I think they just schedule whenever and they just get approval from Blizzard, right? So I guess you could make an argument that why Blizzard even approved that date if the Wild qualifier was at that time. But I have a feeling they just think of them as separate things. Like Wild has has nothing to do with HCT, so it's like completely separate player pools or something like that.
But even that, like, because you just use that excuse, a lot of the standard qualifiers interfere with like offline tournaments and stuff.
Yeah,
like, I think BlizzCon happened, or like when there was the first Pro Tour qualifier. I think and
Yep.
Like a lot of.
Are you talking about the World Championships?
Yeah, I think a lot of the offline tournaments interfered with the standard qualifiers. So you can't use the excuse of Wild and standard 2 separate things because the standard one's already.
Yeah, I'm just
super bad organized.
I'm not saying that's the good reason. I'm just saying that's probably the reason, or probably why it's not coordinated. I think when it comes down to it, they should probably look at every single player should have a chance to play any type of format, right? So, if they want this Wild thing to actually be decent, then I would think they would want some of the standard player pool to be able to play it. But this is something that we run into all the time because there's just not a universal calendar that Blizzard, event organizers, and everybody really plan off each other. I don't think Copa wanted to necessarily wanted to schedule on top of another tournament either. So this is just one of those cases where it's becoming very normal in the Hearthstone community where there's just overlap, and you're finding out about tournaments last minute too.
Yeah,
qualifiers, whatever they are, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we just have to hope that we build from here, right? Like we see all these mistakes happening right now, so like there's probably there's the big overhaul this year, and like maybe like it just keeps getting better, right? Just because like this is their kind of like not trial period, but like they're just kind of first time in doing it this way.
Yeah,
I know they wanted to get out like everything at the beginning. But it's like really hard to do that. So like maybe it just gets better and better about it like as time goes on.
Yeah, you just need. I mean, you definitely need something foundational to be able to even accomplish that. And I think that having a calendar, like a very universal calendar that's public, that everybody can see, is like the first step to that. Scheduling figuring out the best way to schedule the events as early as possible. I think that's step 2. We don't even have a portal yet, okay? So we don't have an esport portal, like a Hearthstone HCT portal yet. I'm not sure when any of these things are going to be coming. So, it's unfortunate for you players because you guys have to deal with it and then frustrated whenever, you waste time trying to get ready for something. And, it's pretty brutal. So did any of you guys get ready for the Wild tournament or no? Did you guys you're going to try for it or?
Honestly,
until Flame Waker is a viable card in Wild again, I will probably never step foot into the format again.
I think another thing that's awkward is I think the finals are the last day of the season. I'm not sure if that's like 100% true, but because I haven't looked at it. But I think what I remember people talking about is it like the finals of this Wild tournament are the last day of this month.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah, I think it's in 2 phases or something. I'm not sure.
Wow,
I was like, there's no way. I have to play ladder.
Okay,
I already got the countdown going. Like I can't not play the last day.
Those you wondering what we're talking about, Ant has this counting down to the last day of the season. That's literally his title. It's like your stream title.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
People need to know, man.
That's true. That's definitely true. Yeah, Dan, and what about you this week? Anything going on the sub this week?
I mean, we had a pretty comprehensive Cube Warlock guide go up, and I'd posted
Cool.
that discussion about Dude Paladin. We saw an interesting aggro Kingsbane rogue list that got posted, but there's not a lot of results on it so far. It's kind of something on my list to test. But
Yeah.
For my end, I've been playing that Cornerstone deck down here, Dude Paladin. Man, it's a riot. It's a real lot of fun.
That's why you're on this episode, right? Yeah, we'll definitely
Yeah.
be jumping into that in 1 second. And Ant, so are you already preparing a week out for the end of the season here? Are you like positioning yourself
Yeah.
or?
You have to. You have the strategic positions on multiple servers. Try to get them around 100. Maybe higher. You just want the prime position to try to get those finishes.
Yeah. Are you like Gaara? Are you on all 3 servers?
I didn't play EU like I should because of the new rank or the reset. So I should play all of them, but I don't know. I guess I got a little lazy.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine next month because you save so much time with climbing NA and whatever
Yeah.
your second server is. Like even when you start from fresh, you just have so much time. Like you save up like 10 days
Yeah.
just
That
from
makes sense.
climbing
Yeah.
to legend.
Yeah.
I was
So
doing the math
Like
on
what
it. And the new rank changes are supposed to cut down on your climb from like 16 to legend. Now it's going to be like 4 to legend, and you're going to play like about like 35 to 40% as many games as you were before, and that's like a huge difference.
This guy knows.
How did you do that? This is kind of a little off topic, but how did you do that calculation? Because we talked about it maybe a week or two ago about like when it comes to the number of games, you're totally right. But when it comes to the competitiveness of the games early season, it's actually higher than it was before. So
No,
it should be
because
higher. What do you mean?
because everyone starts at the same rank. Like if we play against each other on rank 4 or on rank 15 against like the other legend players, it makes no difference.
I don't know, that I think is a point you can contest a little bit, because if you think about it, like legend players are resetting to 16, and like people who are finishing at like rank 6, rank 5 are at like 17, 18.
Yeah.
They're really not that far away. Nowadays, if you're like a rank 5 finisher, you're resetting to like rank 9 instead of rank 4. So I agree with you in that like the skill disparity is going to be a lot more present than it was. And I agree to some extent with Gaara's point, because I did once a 1 week to legend run in, it was like January 2016. And my games were like significantly harder because of the volume of games I was playing, and I was just playing against other grinders and other good players. Like even at ranks, like I think I queued a Maz at rank 12 or something like that, and like all that kind of stuff. And you do run into more experienced players as you're doing that fast grind. But I think that now there's going to be a much bigger separation, as ChanManV said, that's going to really help out some of those lower skill players.
I mean, I think the top level legends will still probably cruise. I mean, there's a big difference between top legend and bottom legend, but the baseline you'll run into is bottom legend, like right from the get-go, where like you said, Dan, if I finish rank 5, I'm only like 1 or 2 ranks below you. So if matchmaking, for whatever reason, if the volume of players is just slow whenever you play, you could potentially be playing like rank 3 players and rank 2 players as a top legend player. So I'm kind of curious. I'm not sure which way it'll end up falling, but we should just, whoever's listening, or maybe even one of us, we should just see how many, how much more efficient actually it really is. That'd be kind of cool to see.
I think it will be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like one thing I want to add is really like when you finish, like even top 10 legend at the end of the season, when there's a reset, maybe you feel the same, and is that when you reset, like the deck you got to rank 10 usually doesn't work. Like you always feel like, okay, I can play the same deck. And then because there's like a completely different meta, right?
Right.
And this is because you face these different people. You face like rank 3 people, legend people, like low legend people.
Yep.
But when you face, if you reset to rank 4 and you face like legend players only, then kind of the meta stays for you the same. It might be that your deck that you got to high legend will still perform on that rank, so it might be easier actually.
Yeah, definitely a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, especially if you don't play immediately, if you wait like a day so more people are in that rank 16 area, you do get a really like different meta, and I kind of do find that funny. Like a lot of times, the deck you got high legend with, like you just can't win with when you get the reset.
Yeah.
You just hit so much random things.
I mean, isn't the smart thing to do, guys, just to wait a week and then ladder for you guys? Like,
That's what Naria does.
yeah, I mean, that's what Nario was saying
Yeah.
like a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Just because by that time you definitely have folks that are, that were lower rank at the end of the season. You're playing against them, so you should be like a way big favorite against them, right? So
Yeah.
should be cool, definitely cool. All right, well, why don't we go ahead?
Something similar bad about it, because like you're just like clearly playing against players that you're better than, and you got like 19-1 with Zoo, but you got to feel bad for those other guys on the other end.
Yeah. No, it's definitely fascinating sometimes if you really take a good look at what the meta looks like, meta and laddering, what the meta actually even looks like as you're going from tier to tier on the ladder too. Because I mean, you go to HS Replay and you literally click on the different sections, of the just a rank. I think we go up to rank 20 right now. You can see like certain decks do better at certain ranks, and you should be trying to switch up at some point. It's definitely really cool. All right, well, why don't we jump into the deck that we wanted to spotlight today? So we're going to be spotlighting Dude Paladin, which is I'd still say it's in the new phase. It's probably, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks old from really starting to make some type of splash in the meta. At this point, it's it's pretty prevalent. I wouldn't say it's like incredible, like Q block, control lock prevalent, or even Murloc Paladin, but it's definitely rise. It's on the rise for sure. And we'll take a look at the popularity in a second. But this is
I
the
gotta
deck that
catch you there, my man. I gotta catch you there. Actually,
Okay.
according to some stats I was looking at over the past couple of days, the play rate is now equal to or eclipsing Murloc Paladin.
All right, let's look. Let's just look. Might as well just look. All right, so if we're gonna click on, all right, if we're just, it's just the Silverhand one, right? Yeah. So, I should go to meta. Whoops. All right, popularity. Let's see. Okay, Murloc. We still got a little bit of difference.
It's catching up though.
1%. It's like I said, it's catching up. It's just not. I mean, Mage and Murloc Paladin and Spiteful these have had months, all right, of establishing this kind of percentage. So the fact that it's already at 5.95 is pretty crazy.
Click on last like 3 days and see what it looks like there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's higher. There we go.
Oh,
there we go.
That's what I'm talking about.
Got him.
All right, last day. All right, last day.
Oh,
All right, there we go. All right. I'll give it to you. All right. It is doing definitely very well. God, look at the Secret Mage. It's still at 11%. That's like nuts.
That's
all
what
right.
my deck eats up, man.
Yeah, it's true. All right, let's go back to the deck itself, and yeah, we're just going to be basing on the discussion. There's a lot of derivatives. We'll talk about some of the derivatives, but this is the one that I think we're going to be basing our talks off of. And yeah, so let's start off by how much have you played of this deck? Dan, I know you played a ton of it because you've written articles and gotten Muzzy to play and everything. But Ant, how much have you played of this deck?
I mean, I played it on Asia from like 1,000 to like around 100.
Mhm.
So I mean, a good amount. I don't know.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Gaara, how about you? You played this a bunch?
No, but I played against it a lot.
You played against it, so you're going to be giving us the viewpoint from the opponent's side of things.
Yeah.
So we had it for deck of the week this past week. So I played I'd say about 50 games this last week with it, maybe more. So got a really good feel for the deck, and I mean, my first impression is it's really good. It's especially outside of Legend. I think this deck is maybe one of the best decks to climb to Legend with. Second half of the season, or just not in the very beginning when there could be a lot of Legends players up there. But yeah, I mean that's my experience. I went from 6 to 2 in a night. Like,
oh wow.
Yeah, it was insane. I went on like a crazy run. So yeah, I think my winning percentage was like 71% or something like with it. It was insane. But yeah, what are your thoughts on it? Gaara, how about you start off? What do you
So
think?
for like when I usually play like control decks, and when I play against that deck compared to like, let's say, Murloc Paladin, I really felt like, especially today, that it struggles at closing out games. Like I had games where like I was down to like even 1 HP. Like here's a full board, and I somehow get one Void Lord out, right? Because he doesn't play the Spellbreakers, he doesn't play like a Leroy. like if you can stabilize in some shape or form, like it just doesn't find a way to like get the extra push. Like it felt easier to beat that deck for some reason. I don't know. It just
Well, are you playing Warlock?
Warlock, Priest.
I mean, that's
Warlock,
why.
man,
Warlock is
no.
literally the worst matchup.
Yeah,
dude.
but no, but yes, of course.
Yeah.
But compared to Murloc Paladin, maybe it doesn't have the slots. I think like if you play double Spellbreaker, Aggro Paladin or something, it felt so much harder to beat that. Or like just the additional Leroy or whatever. That's what I feel like. It doesn't have like this closer. Yes, it has the equality, but equality just doesn't do the same. And oftentimes they just don't have like the combo with it. Like if you're behind on board, you can't. What you're gonna do with equality? They first have to get the dudes out and then equality. It just feels very.
All right, I'm gonna get Ant's thoughts on this, and then Dan, I'm gonna just let you go because I know you're just we're just waiting. Like,
I'm just
but,
waiting.
but Ant, yeah, what are your thoughts as playing it and playing against it?
I don't know. I think it's a lot better than like Murloc Paladin against not Warlock. I don't know. I mean,
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's really bad against Warlock. I mean, it's easy to tell. Oh, you guys are like 1 health. Like, it's not the best against Defile or like Hellfire or anything like that. But like, when I'm playing like Dragon Priest or like against Dragon Priest, like it feels like it just doesn't fold to like 1 Dustbreaker. Kind of like sometimes Murloc Paladin feels like that, where like they play a Dustbreaker, maybe even 2 you can get through just because you have so much resiliency with like Stand Against Darkness and Cold Arms. You could just like keep making boards. And they're not always gonna have 4 Dustbreakers, right? Like,
yeah,
it's a lot easier to.
It's
a lot easier to like stick a board.
I played against my share of 4 Dustbreakers. that's always a trip. Okay,
yeah.
Dan.
So I think
go ahead,
in those matchups is pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Dan,
Yeah,
what do you think?
so I kind of wanted to snowball or stuff of what Gaara was originally saying, in that, yeah, it feels like the deck doesn't actually get there or have staying power if you can keep the board clear, and that's actually the deck's well-defined weakness. So the deck is really strong against board-based strategies because you just have your cards are really sticky. Like the Squire, the Jungle, and the Protector really help you contest your early game, and you have weapons to chop through the X3 minions in the meta. And then you have like this powerful mid game where you can continue reloading and flooding the board. And eventually you get to a point where you overload the board and your opponent's off the board and you stabilize and they die. And it's very good against the like decks like that, like Secret Mage and to an extent Murloc Paladin, where you're trying. These decks win by getting damage on the board. And
yeah, let's look at the matchups here. I mean, you can kind of get a sense for it. Like, it's 64. Like, look at the percentages on these 2 matchups. Which those are 2
Priest
super
is
popular
really
decks.
good because they really rely on Duskbreaker to clear the board, the Spiteful Priest, and like there's some certain key cards that they play that you can, like Tar Creeper and well, I know the Talon Priest is being played in the combo variants now, but there's sometimes just like a way that you can tell pretty early on that they're on Spiteful and that they're not running these AoEs like Horror or Dragonfire Potion or anything like this, and you can just play incredibly aggressively on the board and like not like immediately, like you bait out the Duskbreaker, get a feel for what's in their hand, and then you can just go ham, and it doesn't matter what they pull from their Spiteful Summoner because you're just straight up on the board and you snowball with like a
you're just wide. You're just super wide, right? And if you hit that
Yeah.
Tarum or if you hit that level up, you just end games anyways. But
Absolutely. But as Gaara was saying, it struggles against Warlock, and actually it's not really being represented in the meta enough, but the Control Priest variants, not the Combo Priest, but
yeah, the Cabal Shadow Priest, the one that runs like the potion and horrors and Cabal Shadow Priest and stuff like that. Yeah,
no, that's like, to me, that's like worse than Warlock almost. But I mean, I wanted to really talk about specifically the Warlock matchup and why those the Warlock, specifically Control Warlock over Q-Block, is so favored for against my deck. And I mean, it really all boils down to Defile and Twisting Nether, right? So like you have cards in the deck like Steward of Darkshire, which help you build boards that are really good against cards like Dragonfire Potion or Duskbreaker or Hellfire. And typically in those cases, it's great. But like when your opponent's got a minion and they just bump one of your shields and play Defile and it wipes your whole board despite you setting things up, it's like, what can you do?
I like not just Warlock. I think I also played a lot of Recruit Warrior against it. I think that leaving minions up is way less scary against the Dude Paladin. For example, if you leave any Murloc up against Murloc Paladin, like the gentle Megasaur on curve is so threatening, and
Yeah,
they
that's
push like
crazy.
more damage per turn if you leave anything up. Like there could be a call to arms or gentle Megasaur. It's harder also to play around stuff. It can be like, like the buff Murloc and suddenly everything has more HP. Like you feel like pressure to clear everything, like use your board clear way more inefficient. Against Murloc Paladin, you kind of always know what to expect. It's always like the same cards, and it's not that much pressure. Not just with Warlock.
If I remember right, the Recruit Warrior plays Gaara, and much like the
Dreadlord.
The Swordsword Gaara, the Death Knight, which makes your hero power Whirlwind, and I'm just gonna say that's not good.
Definitely Warrior is another class that's really good against this. So this dude did.
Yeah, Warrior is criminally underplayed at the moment, and I'm surprised people haven't brought it out in response to this deck that just plays a bunch of 1/1s and relies on them sticking and snowballing them. Like, I mean, it's like the direct, immediate counter, and I'm really shocked not to see more of it.
That's because actually, Gaara, you played a bunch of it, right?
Yeah, it's one of my best win rate decks actually.
What is it? What kind of win rate do you have right now?
It was 71%, and then sometimes you have these phases. It's just bad versus like some super greedy Warlocks, and sometimes you have these phases. You face a lot of Warlocks, and then a day later nobody plays Warlock. Right. I don't know who pushes these Warlocks out of the meta.
Actually, I've noticed different times of the day. Like there's certain times of the day where there's just a crap load of Warlock, and then there's times where there's no Warlocks. It's pretty weird actually.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Late at night I play a bunch of Warlocks. During the day I don't.
It's because like the people are like done with going to work. You have all the kids on ladder, and then during the day playing their aggro decks, and then people get home from work. Time to play some Warlock.
That's right. So yeah, I mean, in terms of like the counters to it, you can see like people that can't, maybe might be listening right now. The control Warlock is a huge favorite against this Paladin deck. It's probably got like a 69% win percentage against the Paladin deck. And then I would say Cube is also a favorite, 56%. And those things like Defile is terrible, Twisting's terrible. Voidlord by itself is bad. I mean, we've got equality, but it's got 18 health. And we're talking about Dude Paladin. We're talking like 1/1s across the board a lot of times. And maybe you get the 5/5 on there and can help, but it's pretty much over. They get a Voidlord down, you're just done. So
you have to find really, really creative ways to get through Voidlord. And actually, on my Legend climb, I ended up making some changes to end up including a second equality, a Spellbreaker,
I didn't do a Spellbreaker, but I did a second equality for sure.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the Spellbreaker won me like one game against the Warlock out of like the 6 or 7 that I queued, and like I had drawn Spellbreaker in several of them, but it was just like you can't silence AOE, so you're just gonna die anyway.
I think it's just one of those things where you just give up that matchup. Like I almost concede every time I run into it. Like I almost don't even play the games, like because it's a waste of time
to play those out. And I mean a lot of people keep asking me, it's like, how do you make Warlock matchup better? How do you make Warlock like beatable? And it's like,
you don't.
If this deck could beat every deck in the meta, it would be broken. It would be the next thing people are complaining about. So like you have at some point you have to accept that your deck's not going to be able to beat every strategy in the game. And like for me, it's like if Control Warlock is like 25% of the meta and I can't beat it at all, then it's going to make my climb really hard. But it's like you said, if you hit those pockets during the day where you're just playing all aggro decks, well, man, you're going to have like an 80% win rate or something ridiculous.
Hey, so how does, I know we were talking about this, but last week, Gar, you were telling us how much you just hated, right, Ren, and just the kind of the Control Warlock thing, right? So are you playing Warrior to counter that some or no?
To counter the Rin?
Yeah, or to just counter Warlock. How does it do against Warlock?
I think you can't go for fatigue strategies in general. You kind of have to cheese. If you want to play control decks, like you have to cheese through Jades, if that is possible, like with Jade Druid or Jade Shaman, or like play big minions. So you can play, or like in a Fire Priest, some broken like mechanic. In a Fire Priest, Recruit Warrior. I think the best warrior deck, control warrior deck that you can play is Recruit Warrior, because you can cheat out big minions.
Yeah, it's all about cheating. Like, if you can't cheat out mana, you just lose. Like
it really is like
nowadays.
That.
That's what
you're not playing Hearthstone if you're not cheating out mana.
Just give them like draw 3 cards and put them into play.
All my opponents are cheating.
Exactly. Right?
Like you play the recruit card, you get Isharash, and then you pull that thing, and then you just take a moment and realize like focus
won.
like
I just won
yeah,
the
what
game.
just happened? 22 powers of stats on turn 5 on the coin. That's pretty powerful, apparently in every class.
Do you think that Warrior isn't seeing play because of the accessibility? Like, for example, if you look at this deck, it's like 4,500 Dust, and like Call to Arms and Terram are staple cards that you don't feel bad about crafting, and that's like half the cost. But if you look at like a deck like Recruit Warrior, that thing's like eclipsing like 12,000 Dust probably.
It has a
Or even
factor.
more.
It definitely has a factor. Right?
Like people, like they watch my stream when I play that, they look at the cards they need, they give up immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like all those like Deathwing Dragon Lord, like normal Deathwing, like these cards where you don't play in any other deck.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, like the weapon too is like something I never play outside of the deck.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's a huge factor too. 4,700 Dust is super cheap too.
Yeah.
That's like ridiculous. I mean, how much is the mage? The mage isn't. How much is? I wonder how much the mage is. The secret mage. Let me see.
People eat up those decks.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how much dust it is.
So Luna's the only legendary, right?
And the Lunith, and then there's I guess one Pyroblast, but there aren't many epics in that deck either. I don't think. I think it's also relatively cheap, like 40.
Yeah, it's 44.20. Yeah, so that's why
Yeah.
these decks are so crazy popular right now. It's because they're so cheap too. But anyways, getting back to the Paladin, why don't we talk about just really the key cards? You know, and then we can get into like maybe some cards that are flexible, because there are derivatives of this, right? It just really depends on what you're trying to beat, and you know, maybe trying to help those matchups. So yeah, why don't we start with, let's go with the most important cards that we think are in the deck. You know, like these are the ones that consistently make plays, super important. I'll start with you, Ant. Like, what do you, in your experience, like which ones do you think are the key ones?
Call to Arms. I think that's the easy one here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cheating mana. You get to draw 3 as well. I don't know. I mean, it's pretty insane. But I think a card I've started to hate, like playing against, is Righteous Protector. The card is just insane. Just the 1 mana Noyatron kind of effect, and trying to get through it. Like it feels like any board strategy, like early on, it just makes it so annoying if you're playing like 1 minion. And like trying to get through that, like it just feels like it never happens. I don't know. That feels like one of the better things. There's also like the early, if you have the coin, like Steward plus like Lost in the Jungle also like is a pretty like good play early on. But I think also it doesn't seem to have like as high as win rate here, but like Rallying Blade is one that's like huge for me as well when I keep it. Like I feel like there's like so many things in the early game like. You just get rid of, and you make your own board. Like you go Rallying Blade, Call Arms, and like just deal with their 2 minions that they play, and like you just feel so far ahead.
Yeah, I agree. The Rallying Blade is like, that's this particular card that I just know in my head it's good. Like I know why it's good, and I know it's good, but for some reason I always want to try to drop it whenever I'm trying to put something else in it. I don't know why. It's for some reason, but it's really good card.
Why, man? I'll tell you exactly why. It's the same reason people come up to me and ask me why I don't drop Divine Favor, right? So like, if you think about the matchups where Divine Favor is good, it's like your priests, your warlocks, the decks that are holding a bunch of cards, and you get a bunch of cards back. And in your aggro matchups, it's like a fairly dead draw. But typically, with the way that this deck is built, with things like Stand and Call, you can typically, get enough value and mileage out of your cards that the drawback from having a dead card in those aggro matchups isn't so bad. And the same thing applies inverse to Rallying Blade. Like the reason I actually ended up cutting them all, and I'm only on 2 Blade at the moment. And the idea is that, like, it's like you said, Secret Mage right now is the biggest deck in the meta, and they don't play any X2 minions. They're playing a bunch of, except for like Sork, but like for the most part, all their minions are X3s or the 5/5. And Rallying Blade just cleanly deals with that 2-for-1 most of the time. And it's the same deal with Murlocs. Most of them only have 3 health as well until they're buffed. Yeah. So it's another like one of those things where you really need it to beat those decks, but it's not going to perform as well versus say like Warlock or Priest.
Well, like I said, I know the reason in my head. It's just whenever I'm trying to like fiddle around with things, it's for some reason it's like one of the ones I always try to drop. Gaara, like when you're facing this, what do you think is the most annoying card to face against, or at least
the Cleaver? I would say
the Cleaver.
It's the scariest card for
Yeah.
multiple reasons, right? The Tarim, obviously super scary card. Like whenever it comes down, it's usually game winning.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like almost always. And yeah, the cleaver, like, because everything that can happen, right? And like if you don't remove him, it's so much damage. It's like 12 damage to the face or whatever. They take out everything, and the dudes. It's not just the two dudes that usually they play like 2 or 3 other dudes at the same time. So it's always a full board. So for 3 turns, it will be like a full board every time. It's probably the scariest card to face.
It's definitely a good card. It's one of those cards. If you see it, obviously it's not kept, right? Like mulligan wise, no way it's gonna keep a 7-drop. But look at the win percentage. The win percentage is actually it's pretty even, maybe on the lower side actually on the just on the grand scheme of things. There's so many things over 50% in this deck, like the card wise. It's like incredible how it performs. It's called the arms super high, of course. Yeah, for me, I think the stand and Crystal Lion combo is like really, really, like when I'm playing this deck, I freaking love that combo because it's like, I mean, not only do you get, you fill the board, but you also have the Crystal Lion that has a Divine Shield on it too. So I feel like that setup for Terran or even just if you're playing Maul, it can be great for a Maul that hits like a +1 attack kind of thing. And it can finish games. I find myself doing that combo a lot. It's definitely fun. You can do the stand with the Steward too. I mean, obviously there's all these different awesome combos, like the Stegodon too. How do you guys like the Stegodon? Do you find yourself casting it on more than like one Silverhammer recruit a lot, or do you guys save it, or how do you guys feel about that one?
So for me, it's actually been a little bit clunky lately, as weird as it is. As people have kind of gotten to know the deck a little bit and things are popping up, it's becoming a little less useful when people are clearing your dudes. And I mean, the real reason I originally included it is because, like, you can't run 4 copies of Terran, and if I could, I'd cut Light Fuse Stegodon and level up in a heartbeat. But,
right.
I needed another way. It's what I call those effects the bloodlust effects of Paladin, and the idea is like, you get these dudes onto the board, you finally get a board state that's unanswered, and then you just put this down, and you get like Wind Fury or +4, Divine Shield or something like this, and the game just completely snowballs in your favor, and you win. Because it's like Gaara said before, you need to have a way to actually end the game once you have that board state. And like punching people in the face for like 3-4 damage turn with 1/1s is not really like a fast, effective way to end the game. So like, although Stegodon sometimes doesn't get there on the value side, like they're maybe only hitting 1 or 2 minions, it's kind of like a necessary evil because you need a win condition.
Yeah. Stegodon's nice when you get the death rattle too, though. The just continuing to guarantee you're gonna have some minions on the board with the 1/1s and stuff. Level up's a good card to discuss too, because I know some people put Fungal in there, Fungalmancer instead, just to try it out. Just because Fungalmancer doesn't rely on just Silverhand recruits, you can at least buff 2 of anything. I've tried it out too. I'm kind of torn actually. I mean, the level up definitely gives me that burst ability and. Some games I feel like I'm already winning already, where Geomancer being able to buff up a Steward or buff up like a Knife Juggler or something like that seemed to be very useful to me. So I'm kind of curious what you guys think. And any opinion on that?
I've definitely liked level up, just playing it a bit, but I don't know, Fungalmancer actually is like a pretty good idea. It does get clunky sometimes, and you can't really play it, or like it's only 1 or 2 minions, and you're like, should I save it? But yeah, Fungalmancer is a really good idea. I do like the ability to maybe finish people with level up sometimes as well, or even like the taunt effect being relevant sometimes. But I think Fungalmancer is definitely something worth trying. So maybe it is worth just cutting level up for it.
Yeah, or at least interchangeable. I think they're interchangeable. Yeah. What do you think?
So I actually was on it. It was actually before I was playing Steward, and for some reason I didn't think Steward was good. I don't know why. But after watching Muzzy play it a bunch, I ended up cutting Fungals for the Stewards. And that was what that slot originally was. And there's like pros and cons to Fungal, and the way I ended up doing it was like this, right? So Fungal has like a much easier to hit requirement, especially after you cast Called Arms and you pull minions like Squire and Protector, which are tough to remove. So you're like more guaranteed to have targets on if you're playing like that kind of a curve game. But as Ant was saying, you can really use level up in some situations to just put like 12 or 15 burst damage into your opponent's face, and like that kind of power. Or sorry, not 12 to 15. Like you get an extra 8 to 10 out of it or something like that. Sometimes 6 to 10. And so the ceiling on level up is higher, but the condition is harder to meet because it only hits dudes. And so I think there's pros and cons to both, and I'm not really sure which one is totally better at the moment. But like Ant was saying, the bloodlust effect really helps in some of these games. So I like Level Up.
Yeah, it's nice because it's compared to Bloodlust a lot, but Level Up is better because it buffs up your health too. So even if you don't kill that turn, you don't feel like, oh, that was my opportunity, or I have to start over. Hopefully I can draw some kind of burst. You still have a board full of 3/3s, 3/3 silver ant recruits, which is
The taunt is definitely
Taunt's
won me
also
games.
yeah,
too,
and
yeah.
taunt too. Yeah, exactly.
Like
So-
against the board-based decks, like it's helped me stabilize their Morlock Paladin several times.
Especially if like they like you play them with Steward and they just still have their divine shields and you buff them up, like it's so hard to get through.
Yeah, totally. All right, Dry Gulch Jailer, Gaara. What do you think of this card?
This card helped me to mill aggro Murloc Dude Paladin.
Okay.
You can play Cola Oracle against Dude Paladin and get value. if
That's
it's with
true.
me.
That's definitely true. Look at the win rates on this card, though. It's got a mulligan win rate of 58.4. So that means if you end up it ends up in your opening hand. So that's pretty darn high. I mean, there's only these 4, which are the obvious ones that are higher. But it's a pretty good one. Kept to 67% drawn. All right, it's so. So this seems to be a pretty solid one. I haven't decided, like, of course, the times when I end up getting the 3 silver recruits going into the late game, it's awesome. It's great to combo. But I just don't know, when's the right time, because, not being able to fill the board, literally just putting a 1/1 on the board is generally a bad thing early on in the game, especially playing this deck. So yeah, any thoughts on just how to play this card?
I kind of like that getting the 3 recruits, like it can kind of help you fill like holes in your curve sometimes if you have awkward turns. Like you can play a 2 and a 1 or a 2 and a 1/1 or things like that, or like a 3 and a 1/1 on 4. Like it just helps fill in curves sometimes. I feel like if you play it on 2, and that's probably why I've, besides like the combos in the early game or in the late game, it's probably like one of the more useful things I've seen with the card.
Dan?
Yeah, it's
Comment on the
definitely one of those cards that's kind of interesting because of the way that it works, and because we're running Divine Favor in our deck, we have to be kind of cautious about this, because I've tested it with 2, and if you pull 2 of those off of Called Arms, man, that's a pretty weak Called Arms, man. It's like pulling some Wisps. It's not really great for putting you on the board, and then all of a sudden that advantage that you're getting from Called Arms being, this great, amazing get-ahead card is kind of mitigated by the fact that you just summon some 1/1s. But I agree that, yeah, it's definitely great for the games where you need to fill out your curve, or in combination with Steward of Darkshire, the tokens become very powerful. But it also has some anti-synergy with cards like Divine Favor, and it is just a meager 1/1. So
Yeah. Okay, yeah, if you look at the percentages, like there's only one card that's actually below 50% in terms of played win rate, and it's Equality. And it's probably because of Warlock. Like that's definitely the class that you play Equality against pretty consistently.
yeah, I mean, you're typically playing Equality when you're behind, so like it makes sense that the played win rate is probably a little bit lower, because maybe you're not quite turning the corner and coming back in all of those games. But it's definitely a really powerful card versus Priest. It's definitely one of the main reasons that Spiteful Priest is so favored, in my opinion, is Terran and Equality, allowing you to reset their board. Just gives you so much like oomph in that matchup.
Yeah, nothing like trading a 1/1 for a 12/1. It's amazing. It feels good.
It feels pretty good.
It feels awesome.
Yeah.
Especially my 1/1 has Divine Shield too. So it's really
if you're like later in the game where you can go like Equality, Juggler in the stand, it feels so good.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, so anyways, guys, let's see. Anything else we want to talk about this? I'd say. Actually, Rhythm Bastard had a question, and we kind of talked a little bit about it. I mentioned Bunkelmancer, but as far as what cards would you see at as the least necessary in most of the lists you've seen that could be swapped out? So I guess maybe I'll add to it. Which cards would you swap out, and what would you swap it for? As maybe like a fun flavor, like a Dino size kind of flavor, or something like that. You guys tried anything like that?
So I don't know if y'all saw the original list is running Dino Size, and there's a guy in Japan who made this like meme Twitch clip where he's got like the Japanese like fighting video and everything as he's Dino Sizing his 1/1 to kill the Zulak. It's super funny, man. It's
It's like Godzilla. Yeah.
As far as the cards go, like this is the what we're calling the 1.5 list here, and it's pretty tight as far as the cards go. Like there's about 23 cards that pretty much never come out of the deck, but the cards that like I've looked at changing and have recently changed are the one identified mall is definitely a flexible slot and can be replaced with pretty much just about anything you want. It all depends on really what you're seeing. The level ups could be Fungalmancers if you wanted. I've actually cut Crystalline. It was funny that you were mentioning it. I actually cut it for my deck because I was looking for a way to create more deck slots and just like, I haven't really missed it, as weird as it sounds.
Really?
I didn't like Crystalline as well. Like it just didn't feel very good sometimes. It just felt awkward.
Okay.
I tried Sea Giant over it for a little bit, actually. And I like Sea Giant a lot better because it counts against all of your minions and all of your opponent's minions. And it represents a much faster clock. Like it's way faster. But I ended up cutting it because I wanted to keep experimenting with other stuff, and the whole Warlock debacle. I really needed to beat Warlock a little bit more.
All right, here's a money question. Has anybody tried Bolvar yet with this deck? Okay, or Blood Knight? How about Blood Knight? Anybody? You know, like everybody that keeps coming up, like about Blood Knight, and it's like
people keep mentioning to tag Blood Knight against it.
Oh, against it for sure. Yeah.
Oh,
you got to play that dude crab, man.
Dude. Yeah. That has not happened. Yes, but no,
I actually heard someone was in top 30 like a couple of days ago playing a Blood Knight in the list, and supposedly it was good versus Warlock because you just pooped out this 9/9 threat on like turn 3, and
it's like a Van Cleef.
Defile don't do anything versus that, my man.
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion because, I think that unlike Van Cleef, which has a very minimal penalty, which is losing cards, just throwing away cards for this investment, Blood Knight has a different type of investment, which is, you're giving up Divine Shield. Like Divine Shield in this deck is super important, just to be anti-removal and things like that. So, yeah, in y'all's eyes, you think that 3/3 buff, to a Blood Knight is actually worth the Divine Shields, the stickiness of your minions in a deck like this? Gaara, I'll throw it your way.
If you like in the deck or against it?
No, in the deck. Yeah, against it is come on.
If you look at Warlock Mirrors, how they go sometimes, it's like you go tap Giant, and the opponent has no way to kill it. Like very few people even play Siphon Soul. And you can just win with that one big threat. The same goes with One Cleave, Like you go for a big One Cleave, the opponent has no answer, you just win the game. Pretty much against literally everything. And I can see this go the same way, It's like you go for a Defy clear or whatever. And again, it's like you can play around Defy that way as well, because then you have like no 2 HP minion. And like, how do you kill the big guy? Warlock is actually not very good at killing big guys. This is why people go back to Mountain Giants, for the mirror mainly. Like, people stopped playing Mountain Giants for a long time because Razakus Priest is no longer a thing. But it turns out that Mountain Giant is like one of the best cards you can have in the mirror.
Yeah.
And just playing a big dude very fast. But it's not just that. It's also like, I can see like the random J Druid with like Spreading Plague being a bad matchup. Then like having a big minion early, like what does Druid do about it? Nothing.
Yeah.
So I think it changes the matchups.
It definitely helps with the matchups, like the Warlock matchup that is a bad one. Do you guys think it hurts with the matchups it's already good against though? Like would it be worse against Sacred Mage? If you did put that in there?
I think it depends also on how popular Silence is. Very often like double Silence is staple.
Yeah,
and when
it's very popular right now. Spellbreaker's number 1. Remember last week we saw that Spellbreaker is the number 1 card right now. So.
Yeah, but the thing is that is Spellbreaker being played in Warlock, and is it being played in the Jade Druid or these controlling priests? And I don't think it is. Like, I don't think I've seen Silence in some of like the combo Dragon priests, and so maybe you have it there. But like,
well,
against Secret Mage and against I guess Murloc Paladin is playing 2 Silence, so maybe not so great there. But hey, you're taking their bubbles. Maybe you're taking their Protector's bubble away. And like, if they're playing a crappy 4/3 with their 4 mana instead of Mega Soaring, I think you're pretty happy about that.
All right, that's what we're gonna have to do then. Everybody listening, run some Blood Knights. Tell me how you do. Like, we'll see some screenshots about. I suspect it is a little better, but you would think that innovation would have happened though. You know, like we
I'm
would
gonna
see
try
it
it tonight. Now that
Yeah.
we're talking about it, I'll give it a test and come back with some results. Because all that matters is results.
Dude, it's these 3-drops that we've been dreaming about as Paladin players getting good. Steward of Darkshire being one of them, Blood Knight being one of them. If we could bring back Sword of Justice, then man, it'd be totally old school again.
Dude, who would have thought it'd be cutting Aldor from a mid-range deck, man? What year is this?
I know, right? That's crazy. It's definitely crazy. Okay, well, why don't we kind of move on? Hopefully, you guys will check it out. And again, if you guys are looking for a deck that's going to be top tier and cheap, this is the deck to play. Definitely go to HS Replay, look up. I mean, it's the #1 Silverhand Paladin deck, which is Dan's deck basically. All right, so we've got a topic this week, which is the Evergreen set. I know Gaara, you wanted to talk a little bit about it. Why don't you kind of lead us into this discussion?
I mean, I have like all sorts of different spreadsheets that I like always like rework on whenever a rotation happens, Hall of Fame happens, patches happen, all that stuff. And like a couple of months ago, I did like a power level of the classic set or basic cards, and there's like a huge difference between, for example, Mage has the strongest basic cards, and Priest has by far the worst. And this is a huge problem with every standard rotation, with every expansion. Like you have to give Priest significantly more powerful cards than Mage, for instance, to have like a balance. And that's just wrong. And now another problem that we see more happening with every expansion is the power creep, that basic minions are getting weaker and weaker as well with every new expansion compared to spells, because spells are more flexible. For example, like also secrets. For example, just as an example, like the Hunter secrets, like Snake Trap, Snipe, they get weaker and weaker with the expansion. And the Mage secrets like Counterspell and Spellbender, they're more flexible. Like they're always kind of good because you just counter a spell.
Yeah, they're more diverse. Yeah, they can be used in many ways.
Yeah,
right?
And I think it's becoming more and more of a problem, especially when cards like Hyman are like the primary win condition of Hunter in so many decks for so many years. And Hyman gets weaker and weaker as a minion just because of the natural power creep. And I think we're at a point where we really have to get a core set or like some balancing with the basic cards.
Okay. I mean, this is something that's like a reoccurring discussion, right? Like just changing basic classic. I mean, core set is definitely a method of trying to execute something like that. But I guess maybe getting to your point where you're kind of like seeing the power level of the base cards right now, for each of the set. And I agree with you. I think the Mage ones are obviously really good. And I would say in Priest obviously is bad too. I would say even like Paladin, some of Paladins are not the greatest either. So I guess maybe let's dig into that a little bit. Like balancing out the class cards, the basic and classic set. I mean, why do we think the cards A are like, why is this, like, just use Priest as an example. Why are those base cards so weak? Like, is there an attribute about it that's so weak? And then like, what can we really do? Like, should we add more minions? Should we, I'll throw out, I'll just kind of lead the discussion. I think with some of the Priest cards, they're very one-dimensional, and these days, like, if you don't have a card that can do multiple things or synergize multiply, if it is a one-dimensional card, it has to synergize with how you build your deck, then it's probably not good, and I think Priest has a lot of those type of cards. And that could be a symptom of it. There's a lot of spells too in Priest. There's just not a lot of minions, right, that you can just throw down and build off of. But Ant, what do you think? What do you think is like some symptomatic things of the classes that are weak from a classic and basic standpoint?
I don't know. Like it feels like it kind of went in first as like more of a flavor thing. Like they want to get the feel of Priest more than they want to like actually balance the cards.
Yeah.
And like now we kind of can like get to this time where like we see that the Mage cards are like by far like better than the Priest cards and that kind of thing. I don't know. I think in general, like probably like the base set like should be less powerful, but like in general, right? Because like I feel like there was a long time where like expansions would come out and like we'd have like 20 like basic or classic cards and just like a couple cards from the expansion. Right. And like I'm like a little bit happier that it's getting a little bit further from that, where like
Yeah.
an expansion actually impacts the meta and like how you build your decks and stuff, and it's not just like 20 classic cards and like basic cards and stuff.
That's true. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, I did forget that we used to have Rag and Sylvanas and literally these neutral cards in every single deck. So we really didn't have any new cards. Yeah, how time flies. Yeah, we're totally opposite now. Okay, so I guess you like it. I mean, you kind of like, I guess, the way it is right now, where maybe some of the cards and some of the classes are still strong, but it's okay if like the majority of them are weak, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think like, I mean, it'd make the game more interesting if we had like a core set or something like that, or just like different classic cards or basic cards coming in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I understand why like maybe they don't do it.
Okay. Yeah, Dan, what about you? You think we're in a good spot right now with just the basic classic set?
No. I think that, I mean, I can point to 2 cards. I mean, without going on and on about Mage, because I can say a lot about Mage, but Fiery War Axe and Innervate. If that doesn't tell you that there's a problem with the basic set, then I don't know what does. Those cards were universally played in every single Druid and Warrior deck since the beginning of time, and the problem is because there's nothing better than them in their pre-nerf state, and there's nothing better than what they did. And the problem is that those cards exist in the Evergreen set, and I always point to Mage's example. As long as the 3 cards, Mana Worm, Frostbolt, and Fireball, those 3 cards, as long as those cards exist in Standard, there will be some kind of Tempo Mage shell. Somebody's going to be playing it. It might be me, it might be APX, I don't know. Somebody's going to be playing it.
Yeah, it's one of these things where I think that accessibility, like starters, like players that are just starting the game, they want them to have a pretty good experience too. And I think that has a lot to do with the basic set. And I feel like the issue that we might have just overall might have to do a little bit with how the ladder is structured. It's just not, I still say it's not, the width of it is still not big enough where you can literally have these guys playing with like really crappy basic cards, playing against each other. And it's like a great type of, matchmaking, and they're having a good experience. Right now, it's still pretty shallow, even though we did add some more stars and stuff, that, you're having to give, you're still having to put a lot of power into the basic set so that they can have that good experience. Fireball and Frostbolt, I don't know, those things should just be like legacy. Like it's pretty hard to imagine Mage without Fireball and Frostbolt, just even thematically, right? Because they're supposed to be a spell class and a direct damage blasting type of class too. But I think that has a lot to do with it too. I think that there's just not this place where we can literally have newbies just playing against each other with weak cards. So there's a little bit of conflict there. If we could like fix that, then I think just having the basic set be just generally weaker, which I think would bring down the power level of the game altogether. Just having a that kind of core set or whatever you want to call it, just be a bit weaker. And that's not bad. That's actually not a bad thing for Hearthstone. I think that would be fine too. I don't think we can balance it. I think that, and you had a good point about the thematic aspect of it. I think they just, I think that plays a big role into some of these basic cards. Like heal, like Priest will always be buffing and healing, right? And that has to be part of the core type of card set. But yeah, so Gaara, what do you think we should do? I mean, we should have a core set that.
I think it's just very outdated. Like it was impossible to look so many years ahead at that time when they designed the game. I think also they didn't think about it too much. Oh, we want this evergreen set that will be like good in 4 years from now, because they were like worried about getting the game out and whatever. I think it's just outdated. It's, for example, cards like Lightning Storm really annoy me the most. Like Lightning Storm is really bad. But whenever you build a shaman deck, like even a mid-range shaman deck, like an aggro shaman, you want to play like a 3-mana board clear card, and Lightning Storm is just too weak. Like Overlord feels just too weak right now because everyone does like broken things on curve. Like if you would remove Overlord from shaman right now with the existing cards,
it would probably
shaman
be just
wouldn't
like,
even.
You'd just be equally like average. Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy. If I face a shaman,
you got a deal 8 to a minion with no overload. Ooh, that sounds good to me. Sign me up.
If
Smash
I
a
face
void lord.
and they played like a J close on turn 5, right? And then on turn 6, I'm like, okay, they could go doppelganger the evolve, and then they're like overloaded for 1, and I'm like, man, Shaman sucks. You know,
No,
you feel bad for them.
No, it's true though. Like when you have a major theme like Overload that originally started out as a way for you to kind of pay later, right? Like have a delayed type of payment mechanism to it. It just doesn't make any sense anymore. So yes, things are definitely outdated, and I think it's a matter of, will they ever just replace stuff? Like we've never had an actual replacement of a card in Basic or Classic. We've only
and never buffed.
We've never changed. Yeah, we haven't even buffed. That's a good point too. Yeah, that's true. It's never had a buff. That's crazy
I don't
to
know.
say.
We're actually going to 3. Let us play Calisthus. I don't know. That might be a buff.
Oh my God. Indirect buff. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So, anyways, I think it's definitely still a conversation worth having. They probably have it from time to time, also, but they're clearly against it, though. We would have done this a long time ago. There's just no way that they wouldn't have already, considered trying it.
There might be like the I can't say the word, familiarity like aspect too, or like if somebody wants to like leave the game and then come back and they still like know some of the cards that are in the game, and like they still have this core set or classic deck to come back to. But I feel like if there was like just like core sets or like just something where like you can have reprints, so like they would come back and they're like, oh, okay, this card's still in the game, but there's also a bunch of new cards, what like can kind of maybe like help that, maybe do that. Like there's still cards they recognize in the game while also adding new cards.
Yeah, I mean, it could be one of these things where the core set, I mean, it's kind of out there, really out there, and but what if the core set was just free? And then we were, basically they would monetize all new expansions and new, releases and things like that. I mean, the game's been out for how many years now? I mean, like StarCraft is free now. You know what I mean? Like we definitely get to the point where, there's just so much new content that's been, been building upon itself over the years that why not, right? Why not just give that core set out for free and get some more people to play the game? Yeah. Okay, well, if you guys don't have too much more to say about it, why don't we move on? I want to take some time to give some shout outs to the folks that support the show. Of course, it's going to be the patrons that always, are always writing into us, or just supporting each and every week for each of the episodes that we do. So we want to take some time just to give a shout out to them. So for Mike T and GoTrix 2, our legendary producers, thank you so much, guys. And then a few of the others: Devin Y, Engine S, Raydan, Andrew R, Cameron M, Paul H, Vincent G, Jack O, David H, David F, and Andrew C. Thanks so much, guys. And if you want to support the show, help us keep doing the show, go to patreon.com/valuetown and make a pledge today, because anything will help us out, help us kind of, pay the bills and all that good stuff. So really, really appreciate it if you do. And of course, we are obviously, under the, HS Replay umbrella too. So go and check out hsreplay.net and become a better player. Find, just some of these awesome decks that we've talking about on the show, and just find out all the stats on them right now. And we actually have another feature too that shows the streamers that are playing it, that will kind of help you even learn how to play it. Just watch guys like Ant and Gaara here playing. It's definitely awesome. Okay, well, we've got a couple cards for Mekkatorque this week, and for those of you wondering what Mekkatorque's workshop is, it's the segment that we do where people submit like a custom card just to kind of throw out some ideas that might be cool for Blizzard to maybe consider. And we've got Hellhound, who is somebody in the Hearthstone HS Replay community that always makes a bunch of custom cards. He had one here that's it looks like a neutral card that's 5 mana, 0/9 Arcane Treasure Epic. At the end of each turn, deal 2 damage to this minion and add 2 random spells to your hand. So probably guaranteed 2 spells, right, if you play it, and then go down to a 0/7. What do you think about this? This is literally like a card that has 0 tempo aspects to it.
It's just like whenever it takes damage, is like just deal 2 and then you get 2.
I think it's at the end of the turn you get 2. Yeah, so it deals 2 and you get 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think it says 2 damage when 2 random cards when you get damage. Yeah, so it has to live basically. So you're only guaranteed 2, right? When you play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of nice because it incentivizes your opponent to attack into it to deny you value, and it can gain you life in that regard. And maybe the
Right.
2 spells you get are good, but I don't know. I mean, from a competitive standpoint, I've never had great experience with add random spells to my hand. That's why
You haven't played
Zodi
Kabbalist,
Mage.
Tom? I mean, come on. What do you mean?
It doesn't say
Oh, man,
mage spells though. It's just
God.
spells.
Dude,
We
I
can
get
just
rid
Yeah,
of
that's
like
true.
Fire
It
Blast.
is. That's true. It's not class spells. That's a good point.
I assume we have like a 30% higher chance to get class spells.
Probably, if it's consistent with everything else, you would have a higher chance of getting class spells.
This just seems strictly better than Kabbalist Tome.
I think so too. It's like a heal too, like you were saying, Dan. And
Yeah.
I mean, they have to do 7 damage to it.
Yeah.
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 And like if you get it to 1 health, you're still drawing 2 cards. Like it just goes to -1 health.
Mm-hmm. And then if you Divine Spirit Interfire, you just win the game anyways. I mean, it's like right?
You get Divine Spirit and Interfire from
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Oh my God, can you imagine that? That would be epic.
Oh yeah, in Priest you just buffed HP and then it stays alive.
I know.
Oh,
Man,
yeah,
I'd
there
take
you
2
go.
Divine Spirit. That'd be great too.
Increase hero power, 2 mana, add random spells to your hand.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it's called Arcane Treasure, so it was probably meant to be more from a mage standpoint. And so if you do directly compare it to Kabbalist Tome, it's better. But yeah, it's interesting. I kind of like. I mean, these end of each turn type of cards, they're a little bit dangerous, because we have the Drakari Enchanter, where you can actually, it can actually trigger twice. Which we saw some craziness with the Recruit Warrior. Remember early on when the expansion came out, people, I think it was Tice at Seat Story did the Drakari Enchanter with the
Master Oakheart.
Yeah, Master Oakheart into the dragon. Oh man, those are dreams.
You can get this from Meat Wagon.
Oh, that's true. Oh no, we're starting the memes again. That's true.
There you go, powering it out.
That's right. Where that could do some sick things. Okay, well, that's a cool card. Thanks, Hellhound, for that. And then we got another card here that is indeed a mage. Ooh, it's a cool picture. A mage card. It's from Raydan. 7 mana, 7/5, legend, Echo of Jaina. Each time you cast a spell, cast a copy of that spell with the same target. Oh my god. So if you fireball the face, you fireball twice to the face.
Oh wow!
If this thing lives.
Hey, you can 30 someone if this lives 1 turn, man. You can double ball bolt and boom, that's 30 right there,
That's
my man.
right. Double ball.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I think this needs to be statted a lot less. I just statted down quite a bit. Like,
I don't know. I think it's very low health for 7 mana, and I think it's very difficult to combo multiple cards with this in the same turn. So it leaves your opponent with a window to actually react to the card and deal with it. And I think that, I think it's definitely not like as crazy on the surface as it looks, but it's definitely a fun, cool card.
all right, compare it to Antonidas. What are we looking at?
5/7 versus 7/5.
Oh, well,
I mean, 7 health is a
thanks
big
for
difference.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah.
But which one's better? I mean, this one you can literally end them in turn, where the Antonidas outside of Quest is really not supposed to be like that, right? It's more of like a multi-turn finish with Antonidas.
I mean, if you play this with Frost Nova and it survives on 10,
yeah, that's very
you probably win.
I can see that.
Yeah.
You can OTK. I think you would play it as a staple card in Freeze Mage.
I think
Because
it would
if
be
it survives, you
super
win the
good.
game.
Yeah. Because even just one fireball and a frostbolt, that's 18 damage.
Yeah, the standard combo is double fireball frostbolt, which would be 30.
Yeah, but even I'm just
Or
talking about
double
other
or
derivatives.
Pyroblast.
Other derivatives.
Pyroblast
right?
is 20.
Oh wow!
There's a lot of different like damage outputs you can do. So yeah, this card is. That's why I said this card needs to be more killable than it is.
You meteor something for 30.
Oh my
Here's
god!
for 30.
Meteor for
That's what
You can finally kill an inner fire priest minion.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, pretty interesting card. I think the power level is insane, and I don't know, man. Blizzard seems. To
I
head
don't
that
think you
way
can make
sometimes.
this card cheaper though. Like you mentioned, maybe
No, not
making
cheaper. Weaker, like health wise.
Oh no,
like,
no.
If you play it in Wild with like an Emperor, right? You can like play this Fireball and Frostbolt in the same turn for 15. Or no, it's not. It's more than 15. What am I talking?
Dude, let's put oh my god, you put Lance in? Oh man, that's crazy.
Oh
yeah.
my god, yeah.
my
you
lord.
could get insane
He's
areas,
all, like, sword
like
premise,
40 or
man.
50 or something. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the old school, man. Old school freeze mage combos would be doubled basically. That's
Mm.
crazy.
Mana cheat is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turns out.
Yeah. It seems to be. Yeah, it's another form of mana cheat. Such a strong theme. Okay, let's see. Next up, we've got. I think Gaara, you want to talk about just kind of like tournaments, right? Because we've got HCT Sydney coming up here. I think this weekend, right? Is it this weekend? It's either this weekend or next week. I have to look again, but
Also, something I forgot to mention is like the whole hype aspect, not just the HCT, the tournament thing. I think they could do a way better job at hyping up things, especially the finals. I think the two ones that happened, the finals of the German one, the ACT one, and the Copa America. I think there was like no hype whatsoever around the finals. I don't know how many viewers it got. I actually, I completely missed the America one. Like it wasn't like promoted anywhere. Like zero hype basically. Also, the pack giveaway happened a week ago. Like the free class. Yeah, we have winners for that, and absolutely like no mention whatsoever.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I didn't even know that either.
That happened already?
A week ago.
No way.
I didn't win the
Who
lottery
won?
then.
Who won?
No way, Jose.
Like there was a huge Reddit post outrage today. Like how anti-hype that is. Like nobody even knows. You know. Like you guys don't know. Like
I didn't know anything.
This huge build up to wow, I got 3,000 packs. It's been a week since the final that happened.
Yeah,
It's crazy. It's crazy that none of you know that. That makes it even more anti-hype.
I didn't even think about it. Well, that's what I mean. Sometimes with what Blizzard does, that they have these like awesome initiatives, and they kind of start off, with like it starts off really good, but it's just there's no finish to it. And I think this is another one. It's like, that's an awesome idea, doing the pack giveaway, but then there's just no finish. Like there's no, like you have to actually do it right, even in announcing it and, like trying to make a big deal out of it. Right. And it's a very common thing. Like we see it happening a lot, and I think they need to work on that. They absolutely need to try to, like complete the execution of these things, these awesome ideas that they have. So yeah, I didn't even know about that. That's crazy. Congrats to that guy that won, and the money too. Wow, yeah.
Hey, look at the
that was such a huge thing.
If you look at the bright side, the guy who won doesn't have his third cousin's uncle's dog asking him for 20 packs,
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what they need to do is they need to do, dogs playing Hearthstone like Overwatch did with the puppy thing.
Oh my god.
They can figure that out. That would be.
Do you know why I actually did that? I had a play the other day, and it was like I was deciding between two lines, and I couldn't figure out which was better. So I asked my dog to give me a paw, and whichever one she gave me is the play I chose.
That's right. Oh wait, so somebody in chat said they haven't announced the winners yet. So. You sure about that?
Oh, okay.
But it ended a week ago. Like this whole
it ended
contest.
a week ago. Yeah, that's different, dude. That's different than like announcing the
I
winners.
thought you had winners and everything already.
Yeah.
But they didn't. But there's no information about that. Like when they're gonna pull it should have happened a week ago. Like that's what Blizzard does.
Maybe they're about to. I don't know. Maybe they're about to announce something. Maybe
it's gonna be some
big ordeal. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
But that's what I mean with like Blizzard, like hyping things up and then anti-hyping. It's kind of like doing an announcement a month before anything happens. It's like they're so bad at doing that. It's the same with these offline finals. It feels like you don't hear about it anywhere, right? Like I
agree with that. I agree. Like some of these, like Copa, for instance, or just some of these other tournaments. I don't know. It would be nice. Maybe they were they using the main social account to promote some of these HCT stops?
I think it was probably like esports, HS esports or whatever.
Esports, okay, yeah. They could probably use Play Hearthstone for that. Just to try to get some more eyes on it, because so it's good for the game. Like to kind of get these. More popular.
I think they're gonna have to. Like, it seems like they're kind of trying to build like HS esports by itself.
Mm-hmm.
But with like no help, but I think they just need to help it like get up there. So
Yeah.
There can be more of these like hype things, right? There's not like almost nobody seeing them.
Yeah, it's kind of a waste of effort at times, you know, if
I
nobody
feel
sees
like
them.
this. I personally feel like there's more hype around these qualifiers than the actual offline event right now.
Really.
Because
Yeah,
everyone wants to
probably.
play the qualifier, like
Well, that
want to
also
see how
has
people do.
that has a lot to do with just everybody is in the qualifiers too and talking about it. You know, like once you get to the tournament itself, it could be a bunch of people don't know. That's not completely the case because
Yeah.
I know there have been at least a few big name players in some of these tournaments, but yeah, they still need to figure out how to make. I mean, if their tour stops, they should be considered major events. I mean, otherwise we literally don't have any major events in the community except for the
Like right now,
playoffs.
it's incomparable to DreamHack, for instance. Like the hype around the DreamHack
Yeah.
compared to a tour stop, but it's on the same level in theory, right? Or even higher.
I mean, to be honest, some of the dream hacks get no hype. Like the dream hack in Germany or whatever, like nobody watched that, right? But if you talk about like DreamHack Austin or
The big
even
ones.
Winter, yeah, I mean definitely those are hyped up way more. So I agree. I think that they should do more. Like I bet HCT Sydney will probably be hyped up. I mean, you've got like Frodan casting it and
On which Twitch is it even broadcasted? Like for example, the Copa American one. I have no idea. I literally have no idea.
I'm not
I'm
sure
pretty
either.
Was it on the Play Hearthstone one? No, not really,
No,
right? Because
no, I don't think so. I mean, Play
No,
Hearthstone.
it was like on the Copa one. There's like a Copa one, I think,
Yeah,
that they
Copa-
did it on.
Yeah.
Because like the Germany one they did on Take TV.
yeah,
Yep.
that's I heard about that one because it was on the Take TV stream. But if you think about it, if they only tweet about it on the like Hearthstone replay, not even on the Play Hearthstone Twitter account, on just the esports account, and then the actual stream is on like on a Copa Twitch, which nobody follows. Like it's so hard to find these events, and there's no official calendar, like you said.
Yeah,
Like
that's
not
the
even
biggest
for the
thing.
offline.
Yeah, I mean
All of it is missing.
The closest thing that we have is the subreddit, right? Has the calendar on the side, you know, just events, and that's all they have nowadays on that calendar. It's like only events, and for here and there, there's like a one-off, type of things, but that's about the only way to know, and it's kind of tough. Like it'd be nice if we could spotlight these a little bit more, right? Like, I mean, we need to put it on the client. Like, why haven't we done any of that stuff? Like, look what Overwatch is doing with the Overwatch League. I mean, that's like incredible. And if we could just do 1/10 of that, like I'd just take, at least a little link that says that, hey, there's a Hearthstone tournament going on right now, like on the client. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Imagine we had that in Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I mean,
Yeah.
like they
So
can
cool.
push us notification when Creeper gets nerfed. They can push me a notification when an
That's
HCT
right.
event is live. Like
Right,
seriously,
right.
what you guys are talking about
Yeah.
is why I don't actually watch competitive Hearthstone. It's like I have to jump through loops and heaps and bounds to find the actual tournament I'm trying to watch, and like it's not really publicized enough. And I feel like they could be. I agree. I think that a calendar would be a huge step in the right direction.
I mean, if you guys only
Yeah.
knew like what it was like for me to plan these shows when I like miss the matches, like miss some, event or whatever for the week, it is so hard to find like match results and, like.
Do you
the
think
way
they should all be like
Yeah.
on the Play Hearthstone channel?
I mean, it'd be nice if like HCT major stops are, but clearly they're working with other event organizers, right, to do it. So, if it's not on the Play Hearthstone channel, at least use the Play Hearthstone channel to promote them, right? Like,
Yeah, I would think so.
I
Like
would
host them or something.
something, right? But I feel like there still is this separation between other event
Yeah.
organizers but the brand is on it. You know what I mean? Like the brand is actually on these events. So, I feel like the partnership should probably be a little bit. It's like I'm looking at the Wikipedia. It says sponsored by Hearthstone, and it's like the organizer's Blizzard. So I guess HCT Sydney is the one I'm looking at. I guess probably will be on either Play Hearthstone or Take TV. I'm not sure which one it'll be on, but that's happening this weekend, by the way. So it is in fact this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm assuming none of you guys are going. Yeah.
No.
You guys will probably be there already, I think.
Yeah.
If you were there.
Yeah, that was a offline qualifier or online qualifier to offline like event. Next month's gonna have like the lens. I think
Okay.
there's 3 lens next month.
Oh, awesome. So what's the next one for you?
EGLX in Toronto.
Nice. When is that? Like
It should be the 9th through the 11th, I want to say.
Oh wow. Okay, so 2 weeks. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rebecca is going to that one. I was talking to him about that the other day.
Who?
Oh, Rebecca. He's in a play group with like
Rebecca.
Purple and Orange, a bunch of those guys.
Nice.
Yeah. And then after that, there's like HCT Bangkok, which is another LAN that I know like a bunch of pros are going to, and then there's also
Oslo, right?
Oslo. Yeah, there you go.
Mhm.
Those are the 3 next month.
Yeah. Gar, how about you? Which one did you plan on going to?
Actually, I don't know yet. I want to get first settled. It's too stressful for me right now. I'm kind of happy that there's nothing this month, and then I go from from there like next month. I'm focusing really on getting top 20 ladder finish every month and focus on preliminaries. I just traveled so much in the last 4 years. It's like I don't feel like too bad. I don't feel like I'm missing out if I don't go to these pro tour stops. I just know how it goes, especially with the DreamHacks. It's just the competition is so high, the chance is so small that you actually get into top 16. It's just like it's awesome if you get to go, but it's like, it's awesome if you get a ladder finish.
Yeah.
That's good enough for me right now.
You can, that's the nice thing about how it's structured is that you can take different approaches to it. You can either try and travel a bunch or you do the combination of ladder and stops, or you can just do ladder if you can do super well every month, or you can try to do all stops, which would be pretty amazing too. Probably expensive, but pretty amazing too. So it's nice that you have that choice at least.
I think it will be greater next month. I think I will go to way more events again starting next month when you have to ladder less. Right now, I really feel like this pressure of just I have to play so much ladder.
Makes sense.
Around 2,000 games, as I said last time.
Oh God, it's nuts, man. Okay, well, why don't we do some Q&A here? We got a question from Ahmed. Does Hunter overperform in the beginning of meta while Rogue takes its time to figure out its best deck? Okay, so I guess they're comparing Hunter and Rogue. Does Hunter overperform? So maybe he's referencing to Spell Hunter doing well, in that little window, the last week or two, and then it's gotten a lot worse recently, I think.
Is Rogue playable right now?
I mean, weapon like a Kingsbane Rogue is good, but besides that, like I think if Miracle Rogue is okay too.
Colento earlier was a top 20 legend with Miracle Rogue.
Yeah,
he always somehow does it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Dude. Does it have like the spiders and everything, or like what?
I think so. Yeah, right.
I mean, it's just like your standard. It's like a standard Miracle. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Just standard.
Just standard.
Yeah.
Just Colento doing Miracle Rogue.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I think maybe generally speaking, like hunters are very easy to figure out in the beginning because there's just not much dynamic to that class.
So that's true for like all aggro / tempo decks. They're just easier to build. Also, like in the beginning of a new season, those decks tend to do better than like control decks just because you can build them easier.
Yeah. Also, like Spell Hunter, like recently, it was like just so good for a while, just because like nobody knew what you were doing, right? Everyone thought you were gonna play like Alley Cat and the like Razor Maw, and you played Barnes on 4 and hit him with the 10-10 the next turn. Like, I think once people started figuring that out, like it kind of made it a little bit worse.
Yeah, like I should hold my Shadow Word Death off the mulligan. It's pretty easy after that. So in Rogue, just there's a lot more cool things you can do with Rogue, right? Like in terms of comboing and just very interesting plays generally with Rogue. So it's a much more interesting class. So therefore it takes a little bit longer to figure out. We do got a couple questions in the chat. One for you, Dan, from Gonzola. When are you going to get back to building fun tempo mage cards? Cards
when they
or
print
decks?
Funwaker and Standard.
Oh God, that's so fun. Shoot him in the face, basically. Oh man, you might get your wish in a month's time now.
Hey, APX Void is playing Fungalmancer and Secret Mage. I think that's freaking awesome.
Oh yeah,
I totally recommend it.
Wait, you joking? Or I've actually seen it too.
No, I've seen it. No,
I know.
I'm serious.
I actually
I haven't played it,
yeah.
but like using that on Mirror Image seems like really appealing to me.
I don't know. I played a deck. I lost a couple of games in a row. I'm like, all right, APX is the mage god. I'll never question him on anything mage. He has to be. He's so much better than me at mage.
Dude, him and Frozen are like the only two players I've seen play that deck better than me.
Yeah.
APX is like on a whole different level, man. He's mad good.
Yeah, it's kind of like a lot of people think that, you know, those decks are super easy to play, but then when you watch the top tier players play it, they just eke out wins, man. And it's like, damn, dude. I can totally do that, and then I like go and play, and it's nothing like that. ShineX Blazer asks for Gaara. When are you going to make the next meta breaker shaman deck? He was trying last week. He's trying.
Shaman is a weird class, man. Shaman just has so much RNG in it. Like all these cards, like as I mentioned before, Devolve, Lightning Storm, like the Death Knight, like so many different RNG. Also, what the opponent plays, right? All these different cards have such a huge impact on the game. It feels one day I go like 70-80% win rate with Shaman, and then the next day I drop to 30% with the exact same deck, the exact same meta, and I have no idea what is going wrong. It's just these small, like it's Shaman is just in such a weird spot. It's just I think it's just the power level, right? The overall power level of the class is just. The other classes are Shaman doesn't have the Atiyesh, the Skull of Manari, the one card that just wins you the game if you draw it, like Jaina. Shaman just needs that card.
Yeah, they can. I think it's possible. I think it's possible for them to fix a lot of things with just one expansion. It's just, you know, we'll have to see if they end up pulling the trigger on it, because you know, it's gotten the doghouse treatment, and it actually needs to get out of that doghouse now. It's like a cycle, man.
We have the free shaman expansion, which is going to be here for a while, like kind of weighing it down.
Yeah, totally. Grumble can't ever work then? No, that's not true. I saw.
Yeah, I was trying to bring that up, but there's this list, right? That's playing like a bunch of Jades and Grumble. Yeah,
Freshka has an awesome list. It's fun. It's actually really fun. I think Gaara was getting there too with it, I think.
Yeah, Blizzard posted like those 4 niche decks with high win rates.
Yeah. What'd you think of this?
That Shaman deck was actually one of the better decks of those decks they posted.
Yeah.
It was pretty decent.
You sure he wasn't just having one of those 70% days you're telling us about?
I mean,
that happened to me. The first day I played the deck, wow, it's crazy good, and the next day it was kind of garbage.
Yeah, it's like crazy bad. It's only 50% now.
It could be Shaman.
Yeah. No, but it's a lot of fun when you can play. I mean, Shaman's one of the like right now the powerful cards, the good cards, are the ones that require you to actually be able to have a board. If you can have a board, you can do silly stuff with the Shaman cards, but you have to be able to get bored, and that's the problem. You can't get bored right now very.
Like if you draw J-Claws into Jade Lightning every single game, then Shaman is pretty decent.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen. Like if you don't draw these cards, Shaman is pretty bad.
Yeah. Okay, last question.
Those 2 cards we're losing too.
I know, right? It's kind of bad. Okay, last question. We'll give Gonzalo one more follow-up here. He says, you know, talking about the Evergreen set, like we were earlier, which card do you think were super good at their time, but would only be average if we were to put them in the standard now? I've done this exercise before. Yeah.
Ancient of Lore?
Ancient of Lore.
Because they have Ultimate Infestation right now?
Ancient
I don't know.
Of Lore.
You still play it with Infestation?
It wouldn't be average, though. It would be good. It still would be good, right?
No, you wouldn't play it.
Wait, yeah, you just have Infestation.
Oh, you mean
you have Malfurion into Ultimate
Yeah, I'm looking at it from kind of vacuum, but yeah, in grand scheme.
Oh, in the vacuum.
The Druid cards themselves right now, sure. Or would you? I don't know. Like, would you need Infestation if you could just draw some cards quicker and put some tempo on the board faster? A control Druid would definitely want Infestation. No question, right?
I was actually thinking about Leper Gnome lately. Like, if that was pre-nerf, would you play it in any deck?
I don't know if it's pre-nerf as much. Wait, is it asking about pre-nerf? Okay, maybe it's either Hall of Fame. Yeah, maybe Hall of Fame or pre-nerf. Let's just look at that.
Okay.
He's kind of Hall of Fame right now, Loki.
Yeah. I mean, I think some cards to look at would be like Totem Golem or Tunnel Trog. Like, these are obviously cards that defined the Shaman era. How do they compare now?
I would still play Totem Golem.
Yeah.
In which decks would you play as Wooddrake, though?
I'll tell you why. I was looking at the 2-drops in standard at the moment when I was building the Dude Paladin. I'm like, come on, there's got to be something better than Direwolf. And you know, when you're coming up with things like Lorewalker Cho and Millhouse
It's
Mana
purposeful.
Storm,
Yeah.
I would take Totem Golem 100% of the time back.
Yeah, Shaman needs Totem Golem.
Yeah. Totem Golem will still be good. But you know, you take the overload though, right? So it you know, I think that would, I don't know if it would be super good, as good as it was, but it would, with the power level it
It's
is right
something
now,
the
it's
class
still-
needs.
Yeah.
Kind of like
Yeah.
the 1-drop for Hunter. Like, Hunter is not broken because they have Diamond. Just Hunter needs Diamond.
Yeah.
It's the same with Shaman. Shaman needs a good totem.
Yeah.
Like, you can't play Thing from Below because the totems suck. Like, you can't play Shaman, like, you only have J-Claws. You don't have another good...
Yeah.
Mhm.
If Shaman has Totem Golem, it's not broken, obviously. It's because it has Overload. It's just Shaman is probably playable then.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a huge
I know.
difference.
And there was Totem Golem before Trog, and like it wasn't played.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. It's like before Trog existed, the card never saw any play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's see, another card. I would say Tuskar Totemic. I don't you know pre-nerf, like, well,
yeah,
you
I mean, with
could-
no Totem Golems and stuff anymore, right?
yeah, I think like with the current set of totems, I think Tuskar Totemic would be
Yeah.
fine actually. That's
I
another
think
card
one
that I was
Dara said
thinking.
earlier was Azure Drake. Like, where would it actually get played right now?
Oh, that's a good point. I
I'm not
Don't
sure, right?
think
Only in
so.
Dragon Priest. Because that would... Because...
Yeah.
is it even that good in Dragon?
I was gonna say, is it even that good?
I don't
Yeah,
even-
probably not because of
I mean,
Horative. It's
the
probably-
spell
probably
damage
make
doesn't
the
even
cut.
matter. Like you don't need like,
Yeah.
extra spell damage on Dragonfire. So
Yeah.
But it was very important to put it in Hall of Fame because
Because if
what
not,
about
Druid would
Rag?
play it for all of eternity, and then what would happen then?
Yeah. What about Rag? Rag's not strong anymore, right?
Dude,
No,
Paladin.
I would still play Rag.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
Rag's
so
really
like-
good.
Yeah. I guess in a
Even in
control
Zoom,
deck, it's still
probably.
good.
Rag and Sylvanas deserve to go, in my opinion. Those
Oh,
cards
God.
were bogging down.
Yeah.
the variety of
Rag and
decks.
Big Priest. Oh,
I-
good dreams, man. Good-
Oh my
good
God.
dreams, good
No, it's
dreams.
also like getting him from random outcomes, right? Like Spiteful Summoner.
Oh
Imagine.
my god, you're right. Oh my god.
Yes, dude. Okay, that's not what he was asking. He was asking
No,
the
like-
average. You'd only be
But
at
he's in the
average
game.
right now. Average. Yeah.
You just evolve into that.
Broken cards are still broken, basically. A lot of them are still broken because of how ridiculous. Like Undertaker would still be way broken. So
What about
Like
Sylvanas? So
overwhelming.
everyone playing Double Breaker.
power overwhelming? Power overwhelming. I mean, it's still good. I mean,
It'd
yeah,
be really
for
good
sure
in
it's
cube
good.
block, right? Like,
Yeah, not cube. Oh yeah,
Or,
in cube. Yeah,
not
in
cube.
cube. Yeah, for sure. And then in zoo or demon, whatever, it's still good. Yeah, that
Would people play Piloted Shredder right now?
in
probably.
Probably, right?
Yeah. Sylvanas is the one that I'm thinking of, like, because everyone just plays Double Breaker.
yeah, you
I guess
play,
you have- wait,
you
you-
play pilot. Yeah, for sure.
You still have a Dark Pack, so you can go like Sylvanas Dark Pack.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
Sylvanas for sure is still powerful. Like not even
Yeah.
a question.
It reminds me of Dr. Boom. When Bulmer was in the game for 7 mana, everyone was laughing about Dr. Boom. Nobody would play Dr. Boom. But right now, I think a lot of people would play Dr. Boom. Because there's no good 7-drop.
Yeah.
Dr. Boom's just still good. I mean,
Yeah, but
think about it,
before,
like,
I think you wouldn't play it.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah,
Dr. Boom, you probably play Bone Marrow more if you had Dr. Boom in the deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's yeah. Anyways, point is the broken cards seem to still be broken even today,
Yeah.
which is kind of scary because the power level is crazy high right now. It's insane. All right, well, why don't we wrap up? It's been a fun show. Definitely covering the Paladin and just a bunch of other stuff, of course. We always end up bringing more than planned, in the show notes, which is always a lot of fun. But Dan, Zhandaly, thanks for stopping by, and this is your first time on the show, so I hope you had a good time, man.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, keep up the good work on the subreddit, and should come run an article for us one of these days, man. I'd love to have
One
you
of these
talk.
days, we'll talk about it.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah.
We'll talk
Just
about
come
it.
up with another deck, and then that'd be amazing. We'd have a
Hey man,
miracle
it's like a
something.
once in a lifetime thing, man. I don't think I'm
Once
ever
in a
gonna be able to do
lifetime.
this again. All right, man. Next. I'm coming up with that Murabi free shaman, dude. You better watch out for that spicy meat.
Robbie, that's like, yeah, that's gonna have a great name too. That's gonna be amazing. Ant, yeah, thanks for hanging out. You got any? Actually, Dan, you have any shout outs you want to do before you take off? Or
Oh yeah, sorry, my dog was playing with my foot.
okay.
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to the competitive Hearthstone Reddit community. We're pretty, well, people call us strict, but really we're not. Just read the rules. It's really not that bad. Just don't shit post. We're allowed to cut crap. Cut the video. I didn't say that.
No.
I mean,
I'm saying that's called strict when you can't shit post.
yeah, exactly. I mean, we got a lot of resources for getting better. If you actually want to learn the game, there's really there's a lot more depth to the game of Hearthstone than it appears on the surface, and we're out here trying to teach people this and get them to play better so that I can have better competition. I mean, I don't like playing against noobs. I don't know about you guys, but
Oh man.
if you want to get better, come check out our subreddit.
No.
And thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, definitely check out the competitive HS subreddit if you haven't checked it out. It's always a great place for guides and just cool new decks that are performing super well. Ant, how about you, man? Any shout outs? Anything?
I guess follow me on Twitter and Twitch. It's like somewhere right there.
Right there. That's right.
Ant_HS. Shout out to my mom. I don't know.
And
She's not watching or anything.
I love the mom.
It's awesome.
Dude, I respect that, man.
Well, that's all I got. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, anytime, man. We always love having you on. Gaara, how about you, man?
Also, shout out to Ant's mom.
Whoa,
She was so awesome
whoa.
in the. Did you watch the HCT player introduction video? Ant's mom was in the video. It was so cool. Have you not seen it? Like that was like the best part.
I know. I remember I don't remember your mom in it. Okay, maybe
She was so
did you
nice.
meet her? Okay, like maybe I just forgetting it. Yeah.
He talked about her. Like she was so worried about him and everything. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to the viewers. It's always awesome. Like to the listeners, and I know that a lot of people enjoy the show, and that makes me happy. Like all the nice comments, and yeah, thanks for having me. It's always nice to talk to all these great players and community members. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Awesome, man. I would just thank the three of you guys for doing the show today and everybody for tuning in. I guess the one shout out I'll do is that, of course, I have to plug, something, but I'm not sure if everybody knows about the HCT, the Hearthstone Deck Tracker Twitch extension. If you're a streamer out there and you're looking for a Twitch extension to use that will help you, kind of show your deck list, have your viewers have the deck codes available to them, and on top of that, you want your stream to be listed, under any decks, that you might be playing that's listed on HS Replay, then go try out the HCT Twitch extension right now. Like it's really easy. I don't know. I think the Twitch extension thing is something that a lot of the community still hasn't really, looked into much, but they're doing some cool things with that. And we're definitely adding a bunch of things to our Twitch extension. So definitely take a look at that if you can get a chance. Otherwise, you can find the VODs for this show on youtube.com/ChanManV, as well as youtube.com/HSReplay too. We're kind of putting in both places for now, while eventually we'll transition some. And go and support the show at patreon.com/ValueTown. And if you have any questions, Q&A, or any Mekkatorque workshop submissions, go ahead and email those to valuetown@chanmanv.tv. But that's going to be it for all the plugs this week. So for Zhandaly, Ant, Gaara, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week.